They are the geniuses, the legends. They are the conquerors of our world, achieving feats larger than life and leaving us motivating peers to excel in all our chosen paths like they did before us. People in History, your 1-hour detailed documentary on the life and times of great heroes and heroines.
The Bible says there's pleasure in sin for a season.
Abby and Jean, who later became the Peaches.
Dr. Alex Ekweme is outstandingly brilliant. He's very patriotic and very loyal.
Comes your way every Mondays, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. You can listen to any past episode of People in History just by logging on to our website www.planet101fm.ng and click on our podcast to listen to the past episodes. People in History, exclusive to Planet 101.1 FM.
Mr. President, it has shown that you can achieve the impossible thing at no cost to the government. There's no scam, there's no subsidy, there's no fraud. Mr. President, last year, our effort measured that 60 billion of subsidy was saved. 60 billion naira of subsidy saved. Mr. President, we saved $200 million in importation. Of the 4 ingredients from which fertilizer is made, we have 2 in Nigeria. There's no other reason why we should import all of it. Today, we're only importing. Today, 63% is locally done in Nigeria, Mr. President. And it's not a small achievement. Mr. President, the Eritrean government has not achieved anything. Yes, they say Nigerians are poorer. It is true, Nigerians are poorer because there are less billionaires and less private jets. There are millions of farmers, Mr. President, who are rich, very happy and looking forward to this program. But the poor beneficiaries of this project, Mr. President, they have no lobby groups, they don't talk to the Financial Times, they have no voice, they have no face. That is why people are saying you've not done anything, but we have achieved millions of people out of poverty, Mr. President.
On 17th of April 2020, Nigerians woke to the news of the death of a high-profile Nigerian who lost the battle for life to the coronavirus pandemic, which is arguably the biggest challenge facing humanity today. He was a man who was probably the most influential chief of staff in Nigeria's presidential villa since the return to civilian rule in 1999. A loyal and efficient man who ran the engine room of the presidency diligently and kept everything together from 2015 till the time of his passing. He was also very self-effacing. He did not hog the limelight and at the same time did not try to outshine the master. His influence was felt and ascribed, not something he himself shouted on the rooftops. He helped his boss to build bridges. He was a perfect courtier and a master of the game of entrenchment. His name, Abba Kyari.
He's a major producer of crude in Nigeria. We had 4 refineries. Once upon a time, we are on time. We were refining our needs and even exporting them. Today, we are importing refined projects. This is a shame for the country. Food, the infrastructure of this country, social and physical, was built on the process of agriculture. We are importing food. This is another shame. So this shame of importing food, we are putting an end to it.
Born on 23rd September 1952, he served as Chief of Staff to the President of Nigeria from August 2015 to April 2020. This week's edition of People in History takes a look at the life and times of a man who worked without failing, 7 days each every week.
He was always on his desk by 7, always the last to leave. A dedicated aide of Mr. President. And
he acted forcefully as a crucial gatekeeper to the presidency, ensuring that no one, whether minister or governor, had access beyond another, and that all those representing and serving Nigeria were treated equally. His name, Kyari, Abba Kyari.
Today we are saying it, and the world should know that the best way to take people out of poverty is through agriculture and manufacturing. This country has benefited and lives purely as a service economy. People just sitting in the offices, oil and gas, banking, insurance, making so much money for themselves and leaving 180 million people behind. It is not possible to go on that list, regardless of what anybody says.
Kyari was born on 23 September 1952 to a Kanuri family from Borno State. He was educated in St. Paul's College in Wusasa and later considered joining the Nigerian army following advice from Maman Daura and Ibrahim Tahir. In 1976, he met General Muhammad Buhari, who was then governor of Borno State. He graduated with a bachelor's degree in sociology from the University of Warwick in 1980 and also obtained a law degree from the University of Cambridge. Kyari was called to the Nigerian bar in 1983 after attending the Nigerian Law School. In 1984, he obtained a master's degree in law from the University of Cambridge. He later attended the International Institute for Management Development in Lausanne, Switzerland, and in 1992 and 1994 participated in the Harvard Business School's program for leadership development. Kyari worked for the law firm Fani Kayode and Strowemimo for some time after his return to Nigeria. From 1988 to 1990, he was editor with the New Africa Holdings Limited, Kaduna. He also served as a commissioner for forestry and animal resources in Borno State in the 1990s. From 1990 to 1995, Kyari was the secretary to the board of the African International Bank Limited, a subsidiary of Bank of Credit and Commerce International. Kyari was an executive director in charge of management services at the United Bank for Africa and was later appointed the chief executive officer. In 2002, he was appointed a board director of Unilever Nigeria and later served on the board of ExxonMobil Nigeria. In August 2015, Kyari was appointed chief of staff to President Muhammad Buhari.
He was an amazing person. You know, what he always said to me was that he had never consciously sought anything. He had never consciously sought any position, and that every position he's occupied, came to him. They came looking for him. He never lobbied for anything. Being appointed chief of staff and being given the opportunity to serve the country was probably one of the most important things in his life. And I remember, after the first mandate of Mr. President, he said to me, "Listen, Jeffrey, we never, you or myself, expected to be in this position, but we're here. We've given it our very best, and whether we come back or we don't come back, we'll always know that we gave it 100%. And for me, that has been the most important thing."
Kyari was an influential figure within the Buhari administration. During the administration's first term, he worked mainly behind the scenes to implement the president's agenda. In 2019, with Buhari's re-election for a second term, he ordered his cabinet to channel all requests through Kyari's office, further enhancing his influence within government circles and being labeled as the de facto head of government.
And extremely loyal. He gave everything to ensure the success of Mr. President. He worked every second of every day of every week to ensure the success of this administration, and made enormous sacrifices that had an impact, a negative impact on his health. And you could actually say that he paid the ultimate price, really, for the for the benefit of this country, for Mr. President and the people of this country. He didn't have any great sort of personal ambitions. He wasn't interested in being out there in the public, getting public adulation, but really staying at the behind the scenes and delivering for Nigerians. And I think that in his absence, Nigerians will come more and more to appreciate just what he has meant for this country and for this administration.
In 2017, following a leaked memo, Kyari became embroiled in a public argument with the head of civil service, who was later removed from office and arrested. In 2020, in another leaked memo, Babagana Munguno, the National Security Advisor, accused Kyari of meddling in matters of national security.
You know, I very often went to him because of all these allegations one would read in the papers, and you know, he would show me evidence. I remember when the MTN scandal, and I went to see him and I said, but you know, they're saying that you might have been involved in making money out of this MTN fine and all that. You know, and he went and he brought me out the documents, you know, establishing the committee that investigated the whole MTN thing. He was not even a member of it. He said he took absolutely no part in the whole thing. He showed me a strong box, a safe in his office, where he put any unsolicited gifts. You know, he would put there, he didn't want anything from anybody, and you know, he would tell Mr. President, this person gave me this person gave me that, and he just had no interest whatsoever. He just wanted to serve Mr. President, and you know, so his life was really an even keel wherever he worked, be it in banking or as a commissioner in the state. He excelled. He was very hardworking and very bright, erudite.
Kyari was married to the sister-in-law of Ibrahim Tahir and had 4 children. On 24th March 2020, it was made public that Kyari tested positive for COVID-19 on 23rd March, following an official trip to Germany 9 days before. There were reports that he had been flown out of the country for treatment, and Reuters later reported he had a history of medical complications, including diabetes. On 29th March 2020, in an official statement, Kyari announced he was being moved from isolation in Abuja to Lagos for preventive treatment. He said in a letter titled, Health Status of Abba Kyari, Chief of Staff to President Muhammadu Buhari, that he made his personal care arrangements to avoid further burdening the public health system, which faces so many pressures. The letter, dated March 29, 2020, read, open quote, I am writing to let you know that on medical advice, I will transfer to Lagos later today for additional tests and observation. This is a precautionary measure. I feel well, but last week I tested positive for coronavirus, the pandemic that is sweeping the world. I have followed all the protocols government has announced to self-isolate and quarantine. I have made my own care arrangements to avoid further burdening the public health system, which faces so many pressures. Like many others that will test also positive, I have not experienced high fever or other symptoms associated with this new virus and have been working from home. I hope to be back at my desk very soon. I have a team of young, professional, knowledgeable, and patriotic colleagues whose dedication has been beyond the call of duty, who continue to work 7 days a week with no time of the day spared. We will continue to serve the President and people of Nigeria as we have for the past 5 years. I want to thank all our fantastic, talented, and brave healthcare professionals working across the country in such a difficult time. All the good Samaritans looking out for the most vulnerable in our communities, the key workers that will keep our country going through this, friends and family and often strangers, who have sent me such warm wishes and displayed such a generosity of spirit. We should be calm, measured, and diligent. Be meticulous in your hygiene, especially with cleaning hands. If possible, stay at home or keep your distance. Listen to good advice from the proper authorities pay no heed to quack cares of fake news from social media, President Buhari will do whatever it takes to protect the health and safety of our people and get the country back on its feet as soon as possible. Like the whole world, we are dealing with a new disease. Our experts are learning more all the time about coronavirus, what it does, and how we can combat it. What we do now is that, while some may become very sick, many others who contract the virus will not, and may have no symptoms at all. This is a disease that recognizes no difference between North and South, men or women, rich or poor. We are all in this together. Close quote.
The late Abba Kyari is perhaps one of the least understood Nigerians. He had been very honest and a straightforward person. He had offered 100% loyalty to the president on account of his distancing from people. Distancing because Mala Abba is not corrupt, and he did not want any impression to go out there that he could be bought, as is the norm in some places, to subvert the wishes of the president. Many would have noticed that as soon as we picked the body from the airport in Abuja here, on our way into town, I put out a message on Twitter and Facebook. I said that as much as people should keep away. However, as you can see also, Mala Abba had been effectively away from the office for about 4 weeks, and the office ran. So that tells you that it's a process, there is a system in place by which whether individuals are there or not, the work will continue. As to whether he will be replaced soon or later, that is entirely up to Mr. President.
Kyari thereafter died at the age of 67 at First Cardiology Consultants Hospital, Lagos, on 17th April 2020 from complications related to COVID-19.
Former Chief of Staff to the President, Abba Kyari, dies from COVID-19 complications after testing positive to the disease. The body of the Chief of Staff to the President, Abba Kyari, has been buried at the Muslim section of the Gudu Cemetery in Abuja. The former presidential aide died after testing positive for the coronavirus. Family members, some government officials and sympathizers thronged the burial ground to pay their last respects to the late Chief of Staff, who was the first high-profile government official to die from COVID-19.
Since his demise became public knowledge, there has been a deluge of praise for him, as well as criticisms, of course, which will always accompany the death of an influential figure. With Abba Kyari's death, Nigeria has lost a hard-working, dedicated, public-spirited intellectual, a man who wanted the best for his country, a loyalist and a patriot.
Well, he's a very wonderful person. Hate him, love him, but you can't question his loyalty to his boss. His loyalty to his boss was unquestionable, was unnegotiable, and he was literally the punching bag. The earlier we marry ourselves to the ground reality, the better for all of us. The issue of black men not falling victim to COVID-19 is just a fantasy. We are alive to our responsibilities as members of the human race and observe all the social etiquette required of us.
Honors and awards of Abba Kyari. Office of the Order of the Niger, OON. Ribbon Bar of the Order of the Niger, National Honor in Nigeria. Since his appointment as the Chief of Staff to President Buhari in August 2015, Abba Kyari quietly and steadily became a major player in Nigerian's power matrix till his demise. And since his death, tributes have been pouring in within and outside the country for the late Chief of Staff.
The loss of Madam Abba Kyari is in sync with the fragility and ultimate perishability of all mankind. He has answered the call of his Creator. We hope and pray that may Allah grant his soul eternal rest and reward him with his Al-Jannah Firdaus, and may God give the family, the President, and the people of this country the fortitude to bear the irreparable loss.
Also, President Muhammadu Buhari reacted to the death of his longtime friend and former Chief of Staff, Abba Kyari. In his tribute titled to my friend Malam Abba Kyari, President Buhari said, Malam Abba Kyari, who died on 17 April 2020 at the age of 67 from complications caused by the coronavirus, was a true Nigerian patriot, my loyal friend and compatriot for the last 42 years, and latterly my Chief of Staff. He never wavered in his commitment to the betterment of every one of us. He was only in his 20s when we first met, a diligent student. Soon after, he was blessed with the opportunity to study abroad, first at Warwick and then law at the University of Cambridge. But there was never any question Abba would bring his first-rate skills and newly acquired world-class knowledge back to Nigeria, which he did immediately upon graduation. Whilst possessing the sharpest legal and organizational mind, Abba's true focus was always the development of infrastructure and the assurance of security for the people of this nation he served so faithfully, for he knew that without both in tandem, there can never be the development of the respectful society and vibrant economy that all Nigerian citizens deserve. In political life, Abba never sought elective office for himself. Rather, he set himself against the view and conduct of two generations of Nigerians' political establishment who saw corruption as an entitlement and its practice a byproduct of possessing political office. Becoming my Chief of Staff in 2015, he strove quietly and without any interest in publicity or personal gain. He did not have a high public profile, but Abba Kyari was the opposite. He simply had no need, nor did he seek the cheap gratification of the crowd. For him, there was nothing to be found in popular adulation. He secured instead satisfaction and his reward solely and only from the improvement of the governance of this great country. Working without fail, 7 days each and every week, he acted forcefully as a crucial gatekeeper to the presidency, ensuring no one, whether minister or governor, had access beyond another, and that all those representing and serving our country were treated equally. He made clear in his person and his practice always that every Nigerian, regardless of faith, family, fortune, or frailty, was heard and treated respectfully and the same. Malam Abba Kyari was the very best of us. He was made of the stuff that makes Nigeria great. Rest in peace, my dearest friend. To his loving wife and doting family who survived him, I extend my heartfelt sorrow at your loss. Unquote.
Well, Abba Kyari was a very simple person, a very humble person, very smart, extremely well read, and very friendly and generous. In his professional life, he was a man of unimpeachable integrity, and it really broke my heart all the allegations about corruption and so forth, because he really was somebody who had no interest in material things.
The Nigerian Football Federation (NFF), in their tribute released by the NFF's Director of Communications, Ademola Olajire, said Malam Abba Kyari's death is a big loss to the NFF, Nigerian football family, and the entire country as a whole. Nigerian's football industry has lost a friend and a great man who showed tremendous interest in the progress of the country's game. He was indeed a colossus. The NFF never had a reason, even for one day, to doubt Malam Kyari's commitment to the development of Nigerian football and the national teams. He had a keen interest in the teams and treated matters concerning them and Nigerian football generally with his well-known empathy and utmost sense of duty. In his interactions with the leadership of NFF and even the teams, Malam Kyari was an embodiment of simplicity, humanity, and integrity. His personal presence at the airport in Abuja to receive the victorious Super Falcons contingent to the Women's African Cup of Nations competition in Ghana in December 2018 only underscored his passion and keen interest in matters of the national team and Nigerian football. We loved him, but Almighty loves him more. We can only pray that God grants his soul eternal rest and also grant his immediate family, President Buhari, top officials of government, his friends, and indeed the Nigerian football family, the fortitude to bear the big loss.
When someone passes on, it should be an admonition to all of us, because one day, one time, we are going to depart. The way we had buried him here, a day will come that another person amongst us here will be buried here. Some people will bring him here. And secondly, as I said, religiously, whoever passes on Friday, in Islam it is one of the signs of a good end. And secondly, whoever dies because of any pandemic or epidemic is another sign of a good end. So these two, at least, they are signs of a good end. And furthermore, what I also said, his family and other relatives here, including our elders, said from here we are to move to our houses. There is no any need for another congregation where we come and converge for funeral condolences. So in order to promote social distancing, from here we are all supposed to go to our houses. And finally, as well, I said, before we leave here religiously, we are urged to pray individually for him. So we are urged to pray. When you are done with your prayers, then you can just go.
On his part, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Geoffrey Ohiama, in his tribute said, I first met Abba Kyari in 1977 at Warwick University in England. I had gone there to do law as a first degree. He had come to do a degree in sociology. I had a pending application to do law at Cambridge, and when the result of that application came and it was positive, I left Warwick during the second semester. But my 5 months at Warwick was enough to build a strong friendship with Abba and lasted till his passing, almost 43 years. Abba was quite skinny in those days. He became friends very quickly and a lifelong bond was formed. Abba was very simple and humble. He was also very friendly with everyone. He had very little interest in material things. We had a common interest in politics, and I believe was our socialist political values that cemented our friendship, because we were always discussing politics and how to salvage Nigeria right up to his passing. Abba was also surprisingly sociable for someone who was so self-effacing, and we had a lot of enjoyable and memorable experiences at parties and discotheques. Abba also had a very good sense of humor, believed by his often stern visage. When I left Warwick University at Cambridge, Abba came to Cambridge to introduce me to his friends there, as he had studied in the city for his advanced levels. After graduating from Warwick University, Abba went to study law. He kept in touch throughout the last 43 years. We ended up together in Lagos in 1982 to attend law school for a year. When I left Nigeria in 1985 to work in Geneva for 30 years, Abba came to Geneva to stay with me, and whenever I was in Nigeria, he made it a point of coming to see me wherever I was. When I got married in Owu to my wife from Indoni, Ondo State, Abba was my best man. The officiating vicar was somewhat perplexed because I was a Roman Catholic Igbo marrying an Anglican Yoruba in an Anglican church with a Muslim Kanuri Shuwa Arab best man from Borno State. The officiating Catholic priest in Geneva, Switzerland, 2 years later during the baptism of our first son, was equally perplexed when a Muslim Abba Kyari and a Muslim Muni Ata Sunibare were the godfather and godmother respectively.
Well, as I said, we go back a long way. We were students, initially at Warwick University. We had a lot of fun together. As students, we visited, we had fun in discotheques and parties. And, we played hard, we worked hard. We're very close to each other. Wherever we were in the world, we kept in touch. Whenever we were in the same country, we visited. He stayed with me when I was in Switzerland. And whenever I was in Nigeria, we got to be together. When I got married, it was quite an interesting experience for the officiating vicar, because myself being a Roman Catholic, marrying from Igbo, marrying a Yoruba Anglican in Owo, in Ondo State. My best man in the church was a Muslim, Shua Arab Kanuri, from the north. And the officiating vicar had never seen anything like that in his life. And, when we had our first son in Geneva, a couple of years later, he was the best man at a Catholic baptism ceremony. So he was somebody for whom, the religious, as I said, religious divide, ethnic divide meant absolutely nothing. And, we had great moments. He has, a serious-looking visage, face, but he had a wonderful sense of humor, great wit, and was full of fun. And a raconteur, a lot of stories to tell. And we hit it off immediately, within a week or so of meeting. We bonded very closely, and as I said, for 43 years, it's been unshakable. We've really been very close. Our families are very close. His wife Kulu and my wife Sulola, very, very close, and his children also. We're all, look at ourselves as one family. And as I said, he was my best man, and for me, he will always be the best man.
Abba was a pan-Nigeria global citizen who recognized no boundaries between peoples, be they racial, ethnic, religious, class or political. He made friends with everyone. Abba was a man of unimpeachable integrity, absolutely incorruptible. I remember after he got married to his wonderful wife, Kulu, he told me how he showed her his first paycheck so she would know that he was not wealthy and would not steal. Abba was loyal to a fault. He decided he was going to protect his boss, President Muhammadu Buhari, at all costs and would take any number of bullets for him, and he did. Since he became Chief of Staff to the President, Abba never rested. He worked day and night 7 days a week. He was a hard taskmaster who did not suffer fools gladly. A very demanding boss, he gave a lot of himself and expected his subordinates and colleagues to do the same. He was very intelligent, very well-read, and had a wild and varied professional experience. He held strong opinions and did not yield position easily, but once he believed in someone or a cause, he would fight with everything he had. Abba believed completely in the Nigerian project and believed completely in President Muhammadu Buhari. During the last 5 years, he gave every second of his life for the success of both. His health suffered as a result, but it was a sacrifice, an investment he was happy to make. Nigerians will look back in years to come and see that he was truly the best man. Rest in peace, my brother.
I've known Abba since 1978. That's 43 years. 1977, in fact, 43 years, and that has been a leitmotif. That's been a central plank of the person, not interested in material things, and caring deeply about the society, especially about Nigeria. He's a real patriot, pan-Nigerian. He made friends with Nigerians across all the divides, be they ethnic, religious, or whatever. Those things did not count for him. And our friendship was really built on our shared values, especially, initially political. We spoke about politics from the day we met till his passing, and about how we could transform Nigeria and so forth. He really was somebody who wanted to make a difference.
And also the heir to the British throne, Prince Charles, has described the death of the Chief of Staff to the President, Abba Kyari, as desperately sad news, for which he sent his deepest possible sympathy to the President, Muhammadu Buhari, the government, and people of Nigeria. Prince Charles regretted that the death of Kyari has occurred through this pernicious virus. The British royal said, open quote, "I can only begin to imagine what an immense gap Mr. Kyari's untimely death will leave in your Excellency's life, and my heart goes to you and Mr. Kyari's family." Also, President Paul Kagame, the government and people of Rwanda, in a similar message through the Embassy of Rwanda in Abuja, extended their heartfelt condolences and used the opportunity to express solidarity to the government and people of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as we are faced with the COVID-19 global crisis. Former Vice President Namadi Sambo, in his message to Buhari, described the death of Abba Kyari as a monumental national loss. Among others who paid tribute to the late Chief of Staff are industrial leader and businessman Abdul Samad Rabiu. In a letter to the President, said he was deeply saddened by what he described as this colossal loss. He stated, open quote, "Kyari served the country and your administration with diligence and utmost loyalty. He was deeply committed to the service of Nigeria, and his efforts especially in ensuring the success of Your Excellency's agriculture industry agenda did not go unnoticed. He was a beacon of loyalty and a patriot." Close quote. Others who sent condolence messages to Buhari were the Emir of Gazakamu, Ahmed Tijani, from Yobe State, the Secretary of the Developing D8 Organization for Economic Cooperation Headquarters in Ankara, Turkey, retired Ambassador Jibril Chinade, and the Emir of Hadija, Jigawa State, Alhaji Adamu Maje, former Minister of Labor and Productivity, Dr. Emeka Uwogo, also sent condolence messages to the President.
Certainly, coronavirus is a reality. We've seen it, not only in Abba Kyari, but in quite a number of people of this country and other countries. And so people should believe that this is a reality and should respect the protocols established by the Center for Disease Control. Physical distancing, extra hygiene, washing your hands, not touching your face, and remaining within your abode, within your house during this lockdown time. That will suppress it, that will keep it small and manageable. And for people also to use this opportunity to plead with them, to bear with the situation. This is a force majeure, it's an act of God. It's not brought by anything, it is brought by God Himself. And we shall do everything that we can as a government to ensure that this has been fought, and fought very well.
This week's edition of People and History salutes a man who was until April 17, 2020, one of the most powerful political figures in Nigeria. His name, Abba Kyari.
As you said, we should eat what we produce and produce what we eat. And this is the example you give. In the east, west, and the north, the ordinary person who is not a number in Nigeria is eating what he produces. And we have to go back to that. To take millions of people out of poverty, to begin to create food security is not a mean achievement.
This week's edition of People in History was voiced by Xavier Robert and Naomi Young, scripted and sourced by Jane Owa, and produced by Joseph Manasseh. Among useful sites include AfricaConfidential.com and peoplepeel.com, amongst others.
It was quite shocking, but extremely very revealing. Certainly, every soul shall taste death. But in Abba Kyari, we missed a very articulate, dedicated, diligent gentleman. Someone who had died in the service of this country, who had become an anchor of this government, contributed to the thinking and the thought processes of this current government. And I think that he is often misunderstood. He's a man with diligence and quite very knowledgeable. He had contributed immensely to growth and development of this country. He will certainly be missed.
They are the geniuses, the legends. They are the conquerors of our world, achieving feats larger than life, and leaving us motivating peers to excel in all our chosen paths like they did before us. People in History, your 1-hour detailed documentary on the life and times of great heroes and heroines.
The Bible says there's pleasure in sin for a season.
Abby and Jean, who later became the Peaches.
Dr. Alex Ekwueme is outstandingly brilliant. He's very patriotic and very loyal.
Comes your way every Mondays, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. You can listen to any past episode of People in History just by logging on to our website www.planet101fm.ng and click on our podcast to listen to the past episodes. People in History, exclusive to Planet 101.1 FM.